Hello and welcome to this STL demonstration of STL Trados Studio 2011. We're going to show today how to translate a document and how to complete some of the basic tasks in STL Trados Studio. Before we make a start, we're actually going to also align a document so you can see how you can create a translation memory from some existing documents. And this is STL Trados Studio. There are different windows, and we're going to look at some of the different windows a little bit later on when we open the document. There's a project view where you can see all the projects you're working on. You can see all your files. You can see reports. You can also edit and do your translation, as well as maintaining translation memories. You can work in a couple of ways, and today we're going to focus on the open document way of working. So this is ideal when you have to translate one document in one language. However, when you're working on multiple files, multiple languages, or both, you can work using the new project wizard, which will automate a lot of the basic tasks. You might also receive packages from people who send out STL Trados Studio Professional version created packages, and you can open those straight away, or you can work on server projects if somebody sends you on one of these shared projects from one of our servers. But as I said, today we're going to focus on open document. Before we open a document, as I said, I have an English document, a Microsoft Word document, and an Italian document, which is the translation of that. So I just wanted to quickly show you how to align those and how to create a translation memory based off those two separate documents. So we would just use the align translated document function. What we're going to do, we're going to align and create a translation memory from these two Microsoft Word documents. So I have an English document, I have the Italian document, and I want to put them together and create a translation memory based out of these two. So to do this, we're going to use, as I said, WinAlign. Once in WinAlign, you can click on File, New Project, and you sort of follow this wizard, so you can give the project a name. You can select the languages, in my case English and Italian. You select your English document here, add your Italian document, link the two because you can combine different combinations of documents. And there are other features that to further refine the alignment, but in my case I'm just going to click on OK and click on alignment and process the alignment. So the software will create a set of linked items, and I can either import it straight away in Studio. However, if I want to, if I have time to get better results, I could check how things have been linked. So for example, I can see that this specific sentence here should really be linked only to this. So I'm going to, for example, disconnect this specific unit, and I can see that now it's a little bit in more better alignment. I can then click on alignment, commit all units, and at this point I can click on File, export file pair, and save my aligned document. This will form the basis of my translation memory. At this point I can go back into STL Trados Studio and import that translation memory. I'm not going to go through the whole process, but you simply need to click on Upgrade Translation Memories, select your file, and again follow the little wizard, and you will import the translation memory that you've just created in WinAlign. Once I've created my translation memory, I am ready to open my document. So this is a document that has been provided by Pros, and it's a Microsoft Word document. So I'm going to click on Open Document, find my English document. I'm going to create a new project. And Studio remembers that my standard languages are English to Italian. You can see that there's already a translation memory available there. This is the last one I've used. I want to click on Add File-Based Translation Memory and find my English to Italian translation memory and click on Open. You can use multiple translation memories if you like, so you can use as many as you like, and you can also customize how these multiple translation memories operate. And you can also add automated translation. So for example, you can add the STLB global community, and that will provide additional sources of translation, Google Translate and so on. And at this point I can click on OK, and I'm ready to start the translation of my document. Studio has now opened the document, and I can see here my source. You can see that this is a pretty clean view. There wasn't any specific formatting in the file itself, so that is why there are no tags or no colors or other fonts in here. But you can see the document. I'll have here at the top the translation memory results every time I have one. And here I would have my terminology recognition. Each one of these windows can be repositioned. You can just drag them anywhere on the screen. If you have two monitors, you can also reposition them to so that you can get the most comfortable view. And then you can also configure the size. One nice feature of STL Trados Studio, it also provides you with a preview. So you can click on Generate Initial Preview, and you'll be able to see exactly the document and how it looks like. You can also zoom or choose different views, so you can see exactly what you want to translate. You can also move this window somewhere else. You can put it on auto hide, and you can also put it on a second screen. So again, everything is configurable. Before I actually go through the translation, there are another couple of assets that can be used. One is terminology, so I just added already a terminology database. You just need to click on project term-based setting if you have a terminology database and add one in there. Otherwise you can go in multi-term and create quickly a basic terminology database that you can use. And another very valuable asset is autosuggest. So autosuggest is one of the great features of STL Trados Studio that helps you translate faster. Autosuggest predicts what you need to translate and gives you translation suggestions, but these suggestions will be very relevant based on the segment that you need to translate. Autosuggest is typically built from your own translation memory. However, some of our users have created autosuggest dictionaries which they have shared on our website. So let me show you quickly. If you don't have any autosuggest dictionary and you want one quickly, and I can assure you, you might get benefits even from a non-custom built autosuggest dictionary. It's worth downloading one and have a go at using this feature, because it will save you some time. So we'll have a look. I'll show you now where you can find them. If you visit our website www.translationzone.com and then you select resources, you get to this page where you find downloads, and in the downloads you find autosuggest dictionaries. There's a number of autosuggest dictionaries. For example, the European Union autosuggest dictionaries, which are pretty extensive, and I'm going to use this today. I'm obviously translating a prose document. It's not really related to the European Union, but I think this is pretty big and it will probably help me in some cases. These have been shared by users, so there's different topics and different languages. So I think it's worth visiting Translation Zone, resources, download, and find auto-suggest dictionaries. Just download one and have a play and see if it helps you. But as I said, ideally you should just create. So we're back in STL Trados Studio and we can start our translation. So we can start typing straight away. And you can see auto-suggest is starting to help me. And you can see it's giving me suggestions like community, comunità, so that could be related to what I'm having to translate. Once I've completed my translation, I can see that STL Trados Studio is highlighting some potential typos. So I can just right click and I can make corrections. In my case is the accents which are missing, so a small issue. But you know, it can really help you correcting things as you go. Once you are ready and you're happy with your translation, you can press Ctrl and Enter and move to the next segment. As soon as I move, I actually see that there's a little issue here, end punctuation difference detected. So I can see that I did add a full stop here that was unnecessary. So I can go back, remove it, and resave, and the error message goes away. I'm now having what is classified as a fuzzy match. So out of the translation memory, which I built previously using those two documents, I can see that I have an 88% match. Studio has identified first of all this number 300,000 as a placeable, so it's something that doesn't need to be necessarily translated, and it has already converted it to the number. So although in the translation memory I had 200,000, it's converted that to 300,000, and has also used the Italian way of writing those numbers, so has localized the numbers. What I can see I'm missing is the piece on prose.com. So I can just add the missing part and Control Enter and move on to the next segment. I have here again a 71% match, so I can add the missing piece. And you can see the suggestions are coming through from AutoSuggest. You can simply use your arrows to scroll from across the different words which are suggested, and just press enter and pick the correct one. Again, once you're happy with that translation, you can press Ctrl Enter and move to the next segment. Again, here I've got a segment with no translation memory, so I'm going to type the translation in here. And you can see that Studio has identified here the number 4 as a placeable. Typically, Studio identifies numbers, dates, times, acronyms, and tags, so HTML tags or other tags that might be in the document, and highlights them in either pink, and in this document there are no tags as such, or with a blue underscore to identify a number or a placeable. You can easily bring those into your translation, and it doesn't matter what placeable type it is, whether it's a number, whether it's a tag, the system is the same. You press Control and comma, Control and comma, and it will suggest to you what any of these placeable. So I can take my number 4 and enter it in there. Of course, this is a simple example, but if you had a lot of complicated numbers, a lot of dates, this can save you a lot of time. So Control, comma, and it suggests you these. So it's very interesting. It suggests automatically words as you type, but also with control and comma it's gonna start suggesting you other items that have been identified in the source as non-translatable. So I'm going to complete this segment. One thing that is becoming obvious is that pros.com is appearing time and time again, so perhaps I want to add this into my terminology database. To do this, I can first of all confirm in here that this needs to be ignored or add to the dictionary, and I then select pros.com in the source with the mouse. I select it in the target, so I select in both sides of the screen, and then I can right click and I can select into my context menu after the right click, add a new term. There's also a keyboard shortcut for this. A little window pops up with my terminology database, and I can further customize this, so I can say that pros.com status is approved, for example, and then I can save this entry. This will be quickly added to my terminology database. I can now close it, and now you can see that pros.com is classified as a term. It's marked in here, pros.com status approved, is identified in the source from this red line, and actually if I need to type this, I could simply start typing, and if it wasn't used already, it would let me write it. So you can say, see, this time is actually suggesting me automatically pros.com is identified, and is different here from the auto suggest by using the gray icon. And Studio can bring you automatically a combination of terms and auto suggest, so it really helps speeding up. You don't need to use the mouse. I'm not going to retype the whole translation, I'm just going to move on. But it's a really a lot of features, as we call them, at your fingertips as you translate. In this translation I'm I'm missing the word all. So I can make the adjustment, Control Enter, and move on. If there are matches in the translation memory, Studio will automatically move on. There are different type of matches. There are 100% matches, context matches, perfect matches, so different level of accuracy, but they can the Studio will move automatically through those. I'm going to put another translation in here. You can see auto suggest again in action. I'm not going to put the full translation in here, or we might be a while. Again, control comma to show you how to bring in a number and so on, and then I can press Control Enter again and move on. What has just happened here, I can see scrolling down a little that Studio also automatically fills a translation in when there's a repetition inside the document. So segment number 20 was pre-filled. You can see is auto-propagated from segment 1, so it's coming from my very top and has been inserted automatically. That's the auto-propagation feature. So I'm going to add a few more translations. Again, another fuzzy match. In this case, I need to remove the piece learn more. So I'm going to do that. And every time I do this, a new translation memory is stored. So if I was to go back into this segment, a new translation memory has now been inserted. Again, terms are identified. I had another auto propagation here for ulteriore informazioni, and I need to just do one more sentence and then my translation is completed. Control Enter, and I'm now finished my translation. I think another couple of features before we complete that I wanted to show you is how you can now send this translation to somebody else who potentially might not even have a studio, so they can also review this translation. So sometimes you might be reviewing with people who do have studio, and we'll see that workflow in a second, but also you can export to somebody who doesn't have studio. You just need to click on File, click on Save your bilingual file, and at this point click on File again and go to Export for external review. So at this point Studio will create a Microsoft Word file that allows you to send this Word file to somebody without Studio. Let's have a look. I'm now in Microsoft Word, and you can see that this is the document that has just been exported from Studio. This is a standard Microsoft Word document. You can actually select how to export the file from Studio, so it could be side by side like in this case, but you can also have a line by line table. But in any case you'll be able to see your source and your target. So if somebody doesn't have Studio, they can easily go in here and review this document. So for example, they might see that there's a piece missing and there's also a typo. They might decide to remove something, and they might also decide to make comments. So they could highlight something and add new comment. I don't like this translation. Once the reviewer is happy, they can simply file and save the document and send it back to the person who sent this file. So I'm now going to show you what happens in Studio when you receive this file back. So you just received the Microsoft Word file with all the edits back. You can just click on File, Update from External Reviewer, follow the little wizard. So in this case we just need to add the file. So you do need to browse and find the file wherever you might have stored it, and then you can click on Next, and Studio will re-import all those changes back into the file. So I can now reopen the document, and you can see at this point that any change that was done in Microsoft Word has been done, it's been shown in Studio as well. So you can see that this addition has been added in here, and if you hover over you might see a comment that has been added, and so on. Studio has got a full track changes capabilities. You can turn them on and off in here. So if you were to do any other change, they would appear similar to Microsoft Word, but also you can reject or accept any change. So that was a spelling mistake, I'm going to accept the correction, or I can reject anything else, and so on. So it's pretty similar to Microsoft Word. Once this is completed, you can just simply at that point close the file. There's other things that you can do in Studio. So for example, you might want to decide that you might see something not quite correct in the source, so you could do little changes to the source. This is possible for Microsoft Word and Microsoft PowerPoint. How to do it? You just click on Project Settings, and under Project you find Allow Source Editing for Supported File Types. Click on OK, and at this point, if you see that there was a typo, there was a mistake, you can just right click on a segment and say Edit Source. And for example, you know that it was 330,000 translators. You can correct it and make the correction also in the target and store it. Obviously I had my track changes on. You could at that point switch off the track changes or accept all the changes in the document. So it's a nice way of working. You just click on Edit Source and it will allow you to edit it. Studio also allows you to see Microsoft Word file with track changes activated. So if somebody sends you a file, the source file is edited, you can work on that. So let's have a quick look at that scenario. I'm just gonna open the file that, let's say, has been edited. So let's click on Open Document. Let's identify the file that has just been edited, and let's reopen it in Studio. If there are track changes on, Studio will show you the document with the track changes activated. And one of the nice things is you can also use one of the display filters to just identify the documents that do have some track changes on. And at this point, in this case, you see that Studio recognized that we did have a translation memory match if all the source changes were rejected, but in our case we do want to keep those, so we can make a little edit and restoring the translation memory. We need to remove this throughout site. And complete the last segment. And at this point I could see easily where the changes have been made, and I could actually store a bilingual file with all the track changes activated both in source and in target. Another couple of things that are worth bearing in mind is that you can do File, Save Source As. So if you have edited the source, you can save the source, but otherwise you can do Save Target As and save your final file. Just add a different name for it, click on Save, and at this point you have your document translated into Italian. You might also want to take advantage of the quality assurance checks that are available through Studio. So you can do Tools, Verify, and this will validate any issue. So if there are segments which have not been translated or so on, you can customize this in full, and it will bring up any change that you need to do. So in this case there's a lot of missing segments, and you can complete any issue, resolve any issue that you might have. If you go into project settings, you'll be able to configure in a lot of details all our verifications. So through the Q8 checker you can verify segments and so on. So once you are then happy that you have fixed all the issues, I still got one. At this point I can resave my target as. I'm gonna overwrite it and replace it, and at this point I have a fully translated document in the final format. So in my case it was Microsoft Word. The same principle applies for any file type. So with Studio you can open a very wide range of files from Word, PowerPoint, Excel, HTML, XML, Open Document, and so on. So a really wide range of file can be supported, and the workflow is the same. Studio will try to filter out as much of the noise so you can focus on your translation. And this is how you can translate a document in STL Trados Studio. Thank you very much.